Hey everyone, I'm BlueJink and I am a huge Daima fan. For those of you who've been following me for even a little bit, you probably already know that. Now I did wake up 5 a.m. for me to watch the reveal stream to show off the animation and kits for the new 11th anniversary Daima characters. I was talking to my chat and talking to my Discord just a little bit, links down below for the Discord, and I saw some things that surprised me. Most people were pretty happy, but I saw some people saying that Vegeta's animations were better than Goku's, some people excited, some people thinking their kits were good, la. And I felt pretty similarly. I was like, yeah, I was pretty satisfied with that. So I went to bed and I woke up, and first thing I did was check Twitter, and people were angry. And I mean angry. People are frothing at the mouth saying that this is the worst anniversary ever, insane, Daima's mid, these are the worst animations, horrible, well, some people saying bad kits, la. Why did I say la instead of blah? But honestly, that really surprised me, so I went ahead and looked at their animations again, read through their kits as well as the Do unit. Then I took a shower, had some food, and rewatched the Super Saiyan 4 Goku vs. Goma episode while I ate, and now here I am recording. Now, as far as the anime itself goes, just in case you don't know, as I just said, I was a huge Daima fan. I didn't think Daima was perfect. I enjoyed it immensely. I watched every single episode when it came out every week. There's some great moments, great animation. It's funny. There's some awesome stuff. When I do end up going to rewatch the Daima anime, I will be skipping a lot of episodes. There was a lot of what can just be considered filler or just even considered bad. I don't know what they were thinking. I think that the initial story they wrote for this series was not as long as they wanted it to be, so they added a lot of filler in there, and I think that was the final result. Well, I liked it and definitely liked the moments we had. People were pretty mixed on it, which is kind of surprising, especially since a lot of them are generally Dragon Ball Super fans, and have you watched the Dragon Ball Super anime? It's a lot worse. Significantly worse. I mean, Daima, I would say, is pretty much better than 90% of Super, if you ask me. But of course, isn't even comparable to the heights of Z and OG Dragon Ball. One other thing, too, is that the Daima anime, it's not coming back. It was a one-off thing with some pretty cool transformations, but nothing insane. Unfortunately, it will be relegated now to just video games referencing it, and like divers or whatever using the forms. That's really it, unfortunately, which is a big shame, because if you ask me, there are some actually really good characters in there that I really would have liked to see again, but it is what it is. Now onto the topic of the video, the 11th anniversary character controversy that's been going on. Now, before we talk about animations and hype, which is really what most people are arguing about, let's start with Kit, mainly because I haven't heard a lot of people talking about this, but when they do, it's genuinely been kind of negative, which is very surprising to me. So I just think that might be kind of interesting to talk about. Now, when I read their kits on stream, and of course I did that again later, I still think that they are very good. And I think the biggest thing about them is that they aren't insanely power creeped, as in they aren't power creeping the rest of the game an insane amount. Usually when we get our anniversary character, they're usually number one in their own tier and kind of invalidate the rest of the game. That's at least what's happened for most anniversaries. But this time it's not the case, and I'm going to be 1000% honest with you. I think it's kind of a good thing. Now, they are actually amazing. Even besides that, like, they are in the top tier of characters easily. They're going to be good in pretty much most fights, but they have their weaknesses, and I think that that is important. You see, we haven't had as insane power creep. I think the most recent one we had was probably the 7th anniversary with the introduction of red zones. Actually eliminated 99% of the game. Even with the newest characters, you still could not necessarily clear those just because of how difficult they were. It was, I don't know, kind of silly. We haven't had anything like that since. In fact, the newest, design philosophy they've had for stages is to have a large variety of stages with different strengths and weaknesses, and design characters with different strengths and weaknesses. Now, previously, like I said, what they made Dokkan events difficult was they just gave them more health and gave them way more damage. That was how they were balanced previously. So every character would just deal way more damage and have way higher defenses, but they've kind of abandoned that, and I appreciate it immensely. You now do not need the newest character to be able to clear every stage. You need a variety of characters to clear stages, and they could be from, even pretty old. You could still find a lot of use for them. Another big part of that is the newest characters giving so much support, allowing those older characters to be viable But still, it doesn't change the fact that this is probably the most diverse the game has ever been, which is very exciting. And I think these kits continue that philosophy. They are still excellent. I honestly still have them probably with the insane numbers they have. They're very good. Their team is going to be very excellent. But like I said, they still have their weaknesses. Is Vegeta going to easily be able to clear the newest Cell Max? Maybe not, but he's going to be great in like every other fight. He's going to be crazy in every other fight. You know, it's like, whatever, I don't care. And especially since we get a new fights that I'm sure they will be fantastic in. I think the design philosophy has been great. Now let's talk about the EX super attacks, because I've seen some people pretty down on that, and I honestly think that's pretty understandable. EX super attacks are not the craziest, newest mechanic. They are a additional chance super attack with insane effects. Honestly, this is kind of a redo of characters like Int Buhan or the LR AGL Kid Gohan and Kid Goten and Trunks, which had the percent chance to change their super, and the other super was just considerably better. This is pretty much the same thing, but given an actual name, voiced, and, you know, being, you know, I guess changes to the animation. I definitely think they're strong. I understand the, you know, people don't like necessarily just how chance-based they are. I get all that. But I still think they are pretty cool idea, and I think they can be used quite a bit. And I think a lot of the anger comes because the previous anniversary, the 10th anniversary, we introduced the tag mechanic, which is like the second best mechanic they've ever introduced, probably. And there is a big expectation for anniversaries to give us new mechanics. And this is a new mechanic, and I don't necessarily care that it isn't the craziest one. In fact, most anniversaries don't have the craziest new mechanic. Just before the 10th anniversary was the 9th anniversary, which had the taunt mechanic. If we got the taunt mechanic here instead, I think people would be very down on that. In fact, there were some people still down on the taunt mechanic when it came out, but I mean, it is what it is. Before that was standbys, which are honestly a little disappointing, and after standbys we got domains, but that was a part of Worldwide Celebration, which have honestly been disappointing to me overall. Before 8th anniversary and 7th anniversary, we got the intros, which were great. 60th anniversary introduced revives, which is probably, again, one of the best ones they did. 5th anniversary, as far as I remember, didn't introduce anything, which makes sense because that was the worst anniversary by far. 4th anniversary, of course, introduced the active skills, which I would put as the best introduction, you know, mechanic in the game from an anniversary. And 3rd anniversary had the transformations, which, you know, obviously has been kind of put into active skills and everything like that. The point is, yes, every anniversary generally does introduce a new mechanic, but they aren't always the craziest thing in the world. I think EX super attacks are fine, and they'll be used a lot, which I think is the most important thing. Honestly, I'd rather them make a mechanic they can actually use in creative ways, like the EX super attack is, rather than something cool in theory like standbys, but standbys have been pretty lacking overall, if I'm going to be honest. Same thing with domains. Very cool idea that's been relegated only to extreme class characters, not that often, and really they've only been useful 2 times in their entire inception. Point is, I think kit-wise everything is fine, but animation-wise, I kind of agree. Now, I talked about this in my Discord, and I find that these animations were more than likely done before the GDC. They're honestly on par with the Part 1 GDC units. I would say they're on par, if not better than those. But they don't have the newest animation style that we've seen with Gogeta 4, and of course the future Kid Trunks stuff. Those animations are above and beyond, and yeah, it is a little weird that these characters, big anniversary characters released after, don't have that. But like I said, I think they were probably animated and everything before GDC, because they just feel like that quote-unquote older style, and that is immensely confusing to me. And it really goes to the argument of why weren't these characters released earlier? Why were they designated for the anniversary when they aren't giving that next level treatment? Clearly, I mean, I feel like they could have easily pushed out these characters in the same way they are animation-wise. Kit-wise is just numbers. You just throw numbers on it. That doesn't matter. But animation-wise, I feel like these could have been done and shipped out as a special Golden Week celebration with 2 LRs to coincide with Daima stuff. I think that would have been perfect. I don't think anyone would have complained. And then 12th anniversary, we could get the super versions of these characters. Maybe just, go the Super Saiyan 4 Goku 12th anniversary, given the insane animation quality, and I think people would have been happy. In fact, that would be a very similar situation to what happened with the Ultimate Gohan and the Power Awakening Piccolo. They released right before the anniversary for the 8th anniversary. They were given, it was kind of our appetizer to what we were going to get, and then we got our full course meal with the 9th anniversary. I think we could have done the same thing with Daima. I mean, hell, even put them here right before the 11th anniversary. We give them really nice animations on the quality we have there. No one complains. 12th anniversary, we get our full meal, our full Super Saiyan 4 with everything in him. The fact is, we just should have gotten these earlier. For the quality they are, we should have gotten them earlier. It's incredibly disappointing that we did not. And I think that's a lot of the issues with the animation, because they don't feel like they've been in the oven for very long. All that said, I don't think they're necessarily bad to any degree. The parts that need to look good, which is obviously the longest parts, the parts, that have the most focus, those are very high quality. A lot of the issues I've seen with people are a lot of nitpicking. Now here's the thing, we're gonna be watching these animations on 2x speed. I need the intro, active skill, anything that's voiced that's going to be slower needs to be at a great level. For super attacks, you really need a lot of the slower moments to be very well designed, but a lot of those movements generally don't need to be crazy because we're going to be watching them on 2x speed. I think they are serviceable. I think they're fine. I don't think they're flops in that degree. And that said, again, rewatching the fight that Goma has with Super Saiyan 4 Goku, they are not up to the level they should be still. Oftentimes they're working with subpar animations. Sometimes, especially when it comes to like super. A lot of the times when they're doing super units, they're not dealing with the, top tier stuff. But when they were dealing with Daima, they were dealing with top tier animation. And a lot of it has been fumbled to insane hells. It is just insane. You watch some of the stuff that he does in Super Saiyan 4 in the anime and find that we are just getting completely subpar versions of that. And I think the biggest thing is how much is missing from this character. This is, now when I spoke to earlier about appetizers and full course meals, when you're getting it to anniversary, this is our full course meal. This is not our appetizer. If this was, like I said, Golden Week and we didn't get everything, and we're getting it at the 12th anniversary with all the stuff we need like it was for Gohan, not the biggest deal. But when it's anniversary, that's how we know that this is supposed to be our full course meal. And when we do not get stuff that he did, that is where it's insanely disappointing. The fact that his KO screen does not have that smile, the fact that he does not do that insane charge up that's a part of the art, that he doesn't do all that, when are we gonna get that stuff? I mean, like, I doubt we're gonna be going back to Daima in 2 years from now for anniversary. We'll probably be doing Super because the anime will be airing at that point. I don't know. It's just really dumb to me. Like, they should just go out with a full bang, make it as good as possible, and they didn't do it. It's very unfortunate. All that said, I think they're good. Like, as a full package, I think it's good. I'm not really complaining. I think it's fine. I think people are expecting a little bit too much. I think that people were expecting way too much for the 10th anniversary and were a little disappointed. I thought the 10th anniversary was fine. For some reason, people had insanely high expectations for this anniversary, despite it, just being the being the 11th anniversary. I don't know. It was a little crazy to me to expect too much. That said, I am disappointed in some of the animation aspects, but I think overall they're just fine. I will be summoning for them. I will be streaming that. I will be doing videos for them. You will see those. Make sure to subscribe, all of that. I still want to stay positive because I like Daima. I like these characters. I think they're fine. I think they'll be fun. I think they'll be good. Enough said. Thanks, bye.